Hey, what's going on, guys? Put your sunglasses on and be prepared because we're taking a look at a very bright and shiny kit here for today's video. This is the gold-plated version of the RG God Gundam, the Gundam Base Limited Burning Gundam Hyper Mode kit here on loan to me from John. Thank you, John, for sending me this to build and share with all of you guys. This was a kit that I said that I was certainly interested in checking out, but it's a pretty expensive kit, as you might imagine, being a Gundam Base Limited item and then also just being plated is the main reason. Usually anything that's plated, you can basically just take like the price of the original kit and double it, and that's usually kind of about how you get to the price of a plated kit like this. But this does also come with like a special stand with it too, which also looks really cool. So pretty awesome looking kit that I'm looking forward to checking out and sharing with you guys. So let's go ahead and get into it for today's video. And so some really cool box art here on the front with a photo of the plated kit there with the effect ring in the background, and then you've got like hyper mode, Domon, and Master Asia here on the front with the text there. And you can also notice that this is in the larger size box from the standard kit. Not only is it larger here on the front, but it's also deeper. Mostly that's just going to be accounting for the addition of the base, but then I think it's also because they have to package each of the plated runners. They usually package in a separate bag just so they're not rubbing against each other and damaging the plating on there. So that just kind of makes the packaging take up a little bit more space in the box, but really cool art on the front. Here on the side, you've got the Gundam Base logo and all the same text on there. On the bottom of the box, there's some more about the Gundam Base Limited Edition version here in hyper mode, being all plated. There it is, just built. And I don't want to say painted because obviously it's not painted, but plated there, the kit front and back. And then here's a look at the included stand. So there's two sides to that, so you can choose which side you want to display. There for like the background, you have this display base and the effect parts and all that good stuff. So here's a look kind of how the kit is going to look against the background of the included base. On the other side, nice larger photo here of the kit there with the effect rings, and just looks super cool. There's a little bit about the Gundam base, including a QR code for that right there. And let's go ahead and get this opened up and check it out. So there's all our plated gold. Looks like it's going to be in multiple shades of plated gold. I'm assuming we will also have some molded gold and some clear yellow. The clear yellow is all just like for the base, but a lot of really cool stuff in here. Let's go ahead and check out the instruction manual first. So the instruction manual is just going to be the standard instruction manual of the original God Gundam. So we've seen this before, basically all the same stuff inside there. So we don't really necessarily need to go through that, but there is an additional instruction little paper here, just basically for the display base. And this is just kind of showing how to put that together. Looks like it's just kind of your standard Action Base 7, at least for this part, and then just kind of the parts there for building the background part, which holds the paper in there, which is going to give us that background. As it's not just going to be one sheet that's just folded, it's actually two panels, which is good, just because basically like looking at that in the manual, how this fits into the kind of backing, it's much better that it's two separate pieces. So I guess you could do like half and half, or I guess it wouldn't really work. So if you try to do like this with either Master Asia here, just kind of wouldn't like really match up, or like vice versa here with just Domon. So anyway, those look awesome. Really cool artwork there of the characters with the kanji there, or you can opt for the blast effect here. So either way, it looks awesome. We do have our included ring parts there in yellow, orange, and red for the back. Those will also look to be the same, I think. And interestingly, it looks like no sticker decals for this. I wouldn't think that the sticker decals would look good on this at all, so I wouldn't really opt to use them anyway, but I'm surprised that they weren't even included. That said, we do have a foil sticker sheet here, which is actually different from what's included with the regular kit. This is like specifically for this version, basically for the eyes and camera bits, and then a couple of other bits on there that we've got for that. So pretty cool to have those included. So, all right, let's check out the runners then. Here we've got SB16 for our clear pink beam saber effect parts there. And then we've got a few parts that are like cut off from the runner, I guess just to be in different colors. So for example, these are some clear parts basically for attaching the effect ring onto the back, as well as clear parts for in the chest and in the head. And then here we have some hand parts in a molded gold. I believe these would have been orange with the original kits, but they're in this molded gold, and it's got like a high gloss coating on it. We also have this molded gold part here for in the chest. Then we've got our display base parts, which are all here in clear yellow. So yeah, this is an Action Base 7 in clear yellow there. And then we've got 2 of this BA5B runner here for like the parts for attaching the display image there in the background, and then the main display base here, which is labeled on the back, which is BA5 base 5 here. But because this is clear, you can actually see that through the bottom, but I guess like the paper is going to be here, so fortunately that'll be back and like be covered there. You won't see that through the bottom of the base, but of course you can see all those circle like bits there from the mold pins there, but still it's going to look pretty cool here in clear yellow for the base. The A runner here is our first plated runner in this really nice plated gold. It's not like a very bright gold, a fairly kind of standard yellow gold kind of color. It looks really nice. Runner B is our advanced MS joint 20 runner here, with those parts being in a molded gold as well. Runners C and D are going to be all of our inner frame parts here. These are all in a molded gold there, as you can see for runner C. Runner D, it's the same thing. We've got 2 of the D runner. Runner E1 and runner E2 are once again also in fully plated gold there, very shiny. Runners F1 and F2 then are going to be a little bit different, as in these are a little bit more of like an orangish gold here for these plated runners. And that's even more so the case here on runner G1, as in these are in an even more so orange gold there for runner G1, but runner G2 is in that other kind of the second gold color that we saw. So basically we have 3 different shades of plated gold here with this. It's pretty interesting. With how bright and shiny everything is, it might be kind of hard to tell, but I think once everything's all together, you'll be able to see the different gold tones on that, and it'll be looking pretty impressive. So that's it for all of the runners. Let's go ahead and get this built up and check it out. Alright guys, and here is the kit all built up, very shiny, and of course I'm going to have gloves on for this review just to handle this kit, because obviously the one thing you don't want to do with this is get fingerprints all over it, because it will attract all of the fingerprints on that plated plastic. So always a good thing to recommend to you guys whenever you're working with a plated kit, especially like plated gold like this. When handling the kit, it's best to do so just with some latex gloves or something, just to make sure you're not getting fingerprints all over the thing. You can like wipe off dust and fingerprints at the same time as not putting any additional fingerprints on it. So the kit looks pretty awesome here in multiple shades of gold. We of course have taken a look at the kit, the regular version of the kit, in a review previously, so we won't get too much into detail about like the gimmicks and everything like that, but we will go through our included accessories here, starting off with the basic accessories, and then we'll take a look at the new ones for this particular set. And so obviously one of the main accessories we've got with the God Gundam is our different hand options. So you've got the closed fists there on the kit at the moment. We've got our flat open hands here. Now these do also have the joint there in the wrist that will bend forward and back. We've got our weapon holding hands here. These are going to be for the sword handles, which are going to be stored here on the side skirt there. Of course, those will slide out. And we've got our 2 clear pink, like katana shaped beam saber effect parts for the beam sabers. We've also got our regular open expressive hands here like this, very nicely detailed in there, as you can see. Then we've got our erupting burning fingers, which are going to be in a little bit different, more high gloss, different color of gold. So these are just open expressive hands here. And just for a comparison, in the gold color, you can see it's a more shiny and a bit darker there. And the third option for the right side only is this one here with like the 2 fingers separated there like that. So you've got your options for the hands. We do have the colored rings, which will fit into the backpack, so the clear effect part there in the center, and then the yellow, orange, and red rings that fit around that. This will just fit right into the back there, kind of like the base of the backpack plugs into there like so, and stays in place really quite nicely. Now we did have those different stickers for this kit. Going back to the unboxing portion of the video, we did not have like the regular RG style sticker sheet with like all the sticker decals, but just a very smaller sticker sheet that basically just gave us stickers for like the eyes and the head cameras, which you can see there's the eye stickers, the head cameras there, 2 on the front, and there is a 3rd green one here on the back side of the head. Gonna be very hard to see just amongst all the shiny gold, and it's a really teeny tiny sticker in there. Aside from that, we do also have these little stickers for the knees. Now you could just leave those plain gold, but the sticker will give you a little black triangle within the gold triangle there for the front of the knees, which I think looks kind of appropriate to the design. There is also stickers for the gold detail on the inside of the shoulder units up inside there, which is already a molded gold, so you really kind of don't need a sticker for that. So I left those stickers off. and that's going to be closed most of the time anyway. And so that's all standard to the kit, but we do of course also have our Action Base 7 here in a clear yellow, which is going to work really nicely. That just plugs up into like the back side of the hip section, if you guys remember. So that'll work perfectly well for holding up the kit. And then much larger here is going to be our display stand with the cards on the backing there, so that you can flip around to the other way. I'm gonna have it like this, but as you can see, like the other side there, if you want to have Domon and Master Asia here in the background, I'm gonna keep it like this. And as you'll see, like this part is just flat. There's no hard points in here for plugging an Action Base arm onto like this part of the base. So basically what you have to do is put the Action Base 7 just on top of here to display this. This is really quite large, and I was looking at it thinking like it really is kind of like way too big for a 1/44 scale kit, because if you're having this in your display, and just to let me see, just to give you guys an actual measurement on this, it is 24, just over 24 centimeters wide, and 22 centimeters front to back, and in height it's like 25 centimeters high. So it's really big for just a fairly small 1/44 scale kit like this. I mean, with the color rings on the back, and especially if you have it elevated up on the ground, I mean, it kind of fits pretty well within the space. But I feel like this backing like display stand could have been a little bit smaller. It's going to take up a lot of space on your shelf. I think the reason is because, as far as I'm aware, I think that this whole display stand is actually recycled from the Master Grade Musha Gundam, I believe. So this was originally designed for a 1/100 scale kit, which is why it's so big. For 1/144 scale kit like our God Gundam here, it's like almost seems like a little bit too big. But, you know, if your point is to show this kit off in your display, you want to give it like some ample space around it to kind of stand out in its very shiny gold, it's certainly going to do that. So like I said, we've been over all the articulation and gimmicks of the kit before in the original review. Everything is going to work the same. One thing that I don't really like about the colors that this is molded in, I don't necessarily mind that the frame parts are in not a plated gold, but just a molded gold. The only thing is that I wish that the backing parts of the hands were also in plated gold, because the point is like all the armor is plated and like the mechanical frame parts are not plated, where like, so the hands, the backing part of the hand should be plated with like the fingers not plated. So it looks just kind of weird and doesn't really fit with the rest of the design that the entirety of the hand is not plated like that. That's kind of like my one gripe about it. Otherwise, I think that the coloring looks really nice. On here you have that two-tone gold between the more yellowish and the more orangish colors here, the more orange colored gold being there to basically replace anything that was either like red or blue on the original kit for the most part. And while most of the armor parts are undergated, you will have some visible nub marks, like right here on the front of the shoulder, for example, front and back of those shoulder parts. Here on like the inside of the forearm, there's a nub that's really difficult to remove without damaging the surface of that. Going around here on like to the sides of the leg, this nub mark here on the side of the ankle part there and there. Around here on the backpack, you'll see that one right there as well. So it's interesting that they designed this mostly undergated, because they knew that they were going to be making a plated hyper mode version, but for whatever reason were not able to make it completely undergated. Which is just a real shame. For the most part, though, I think it looks fine. The core lander does still come out here like that, and you do still have the clear part for the canopy and a hard point underneath for plugging this onto an action base if you want to just have the core lander flying off on its own there, which I think it does look really nice. I do like the design of the core lander here for the God Gundam. And one thing that I would advise you guys about, just in terms of like the overall feel of the kit, the gold plating, the only thing that's like really stood out to me is that like here for the backpack, these parts are really tight. So just make sure that you are rotating these like slowly and carefully, so as not to break anything here on the backpack when opening these up. But if you do so carefully, you won't have any issues there with that. For just like the main body, I mentioned during the live build that I thought that like the just overall feel of it felt a bit squishy, and it's not something that I remember feeling with the original version of the kit, the regular non-plated version. And it does feel very similar to the RG Akatsuki in that way. So I think it's to do with like the gold plating, like this electroplating on there, just makes the, I don't know what it is about the parts that they just feel like a bit softer. So when you're moving stuff around, it doesn't feel like really solid. It feels like very soft, but still like holding the pose and everything's still working like just as well for the actual pose ability of this. So maybe that's just kind of just only in the feel and not necessarily in the functionality, in which case that's fine. One other sticker I'm just now realizing I forgot to point out to you guys is of course in the chest. If we open up our chest parts here, kind of having a hard time to get that moved up and clicked into place there. I think also just because of the gold plating, but once you've got that opened up, there is a sticker that goes up underneath the little clear lens part there in the chest. And in this case, I went for the one that's just like a white King of Hearts logo on that. There was a couple different options from the sticker sheet. The other ones being just a plain red circle, or the King of Hearts logo with like a kind of mirror chrome, which would catch the light like really bright, but I felt like the white King of Hearts logo in there. It's just kind of like the most visible option there for in the chest. So let's take a look at the kit in a few different poses here, and I will show you what it's going to look like with the display stand, but because of like how I show kits to you here on like my rotating display base, you know, you would only be able to see the kit from the front if I'm showing it to you like rotating around on the display base here with the backing there. So I'll show you what that looks like, but for the most part I want to show you just some different poses just kind of without that backing part, just so that you can see just everything as much as you can of the kit itself here. But I know that one thing about these plated kits, you know, especially under bright lighting like what I've got here for my review space, you know, it's very shiny, very kind of hard to see. It's going to be like almost blinding trying to look at the kit, but it's certainly very impressive looking. I really like the look of this one for sure, and I think it does a really good job of capturing the look of the hyper mode there for the God Gundam. That said, there's a couple things that I would tweak, like I mentioned before, like the backing parts of the hands. One reason why that's kind of difficult is because, especially for like the closed fists and then the flat open hands, the fingers, at least, or like all of the fingers or part of the fingers are molded together with the hands, so you couldn't make the backing a separate part. Only for like the open hands is the backing a separate piece. So I understand that, but I also think like for the effect part hands or for like the erupting burning finger hands, those should have been in a different color, either in like just a plated gold as well for the entirety of those hand parts rather than just like a high gloss gold. But those should have also either been plated, or again like maybe just like the backing parts plated and then like the actual hand parts in just like a clear orange or something like that. I'm not sure, but I'm not super keen on just like that high gloss molded gold for those effect part hands. It just doesn't really convey the right imagery of that effect from the anime. I think that's my opinion on that. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. But so yeah, I think the kit overall looks fantastic. Do you think it's a proper like gold representation of the shining mode? I'm not sure if like having it in more just like a less like yellow and orange gold, but a more just like kind of more bright white gold maybe would be better. I'm not sure. Either way, this is something that, you know, once this kit was announced and it was coming out, we knew that this version was going to be coming. So for those of you guys that were looking forward to this, is it everything that you hoped that it would be, or is there any like thing that, you know, exceeded your expectations or didn't meet your expectations? Anxious to hear your guys' thoughts on this one. What do you think about it? I think it looks great. It is expensive for sure, but you know, if you wanted that electroplated look, that's very difficult to recreate just on your own, just by painting it. You know, you could always just paint the regular kit gold, but to get the look, especially like this, most people just would not have the capability to be able to reproduce this at home. So overall, I think pretty successful as a hyper mode version of the God Gundam. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. If you want to check out just the regular, not plated version of the kit, you can check it out at USA Gundam Store. The link will be down in the video description below as always, along with lots of other great mecha models, Gundam and otherwise, there on the website, so check that out. And as always guys, thanks so much for checking out the review today. Hopefully you enjoyed taking a look at this quite unique special version of the RG God Gundam. It's a great kit, definitely worth checking out. You know, if you're not into wanting to get this gold plated version, just definitely check out the regular version. It's really nice. That's just about going to do it for today's video, so make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed yet, and I really appreciate your guys' support. Thank you so much. Until next time, see y'all later. Bye guys.